Welcome to the Hard Signal Podcast, a production of Next Gen Insight. And I'm Clayton Tidwell, its founder. Today's guest is Attessa Bradley, a co-founder of Standing Tall Foods, a functional snack brand built around one of the most underserved and under-researched stages of women's life, menopause. Attessa brings more than 20 years in organic and natural foods, from Stonyfield to Grandy Oats, to a product that she started developing not in a boardroom, but by Googling what to eat during perimenopause, and discovering the answer had been in front of her all along. In this conversation, we get into the science of soy, the real economics of launching a CPG brand on Amazon, and what it takes to find a co-manufacturer who can roast human consumption soybean, and what it means to build a brand when the sales data is 5 months old and your instincts are 20 years older. Welcome to Hard Signal, Tessa. Tell us the origin story and what made you look at a gap in women's health and say, I'm going to start a snack company.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I'm excited and nervous as always whenever I'm talking. I wasn't looking for a gap. I was just looking. And I, like you said, have been in the organic and natural food space for over 20, maybe closer to 25 years. And probably as a result of my experience with food, I am inherently I have a core belief that food is the ultimate biohack. Like, it solves a lot of problems. What you eat really, really matters. And so it was natural for me to be looking for what I should be eating when I hit perimenopause. I started having symptoms, frankly, relatively light. I was 48. I'm 50 now. It was like 2 years ago. And I just started Googling, what should I eat? And soy kept coming up. And I thought, but soy is bad for you, you know? And so it just started opening up this like world of unknowns. And I really couldn't believe how little I knew given my experience. And the more I learned, I think I was telling you this as we were chatting before, but like the more pissed off I was becoming. Like, first of all, soy has been completely misunderstood. It's incredible. We can get into it, but like, it's incredibly good for us. Frankly, it's good for everybody, not just women, but it's good for women. And so there was like the soy piece. And then there was this whole like fact that what you just brought up, which is like women are underserved, misdiagnosed, like underrepresented. Science isn't done on women up until much more recently. Like, there's so much we don't know. So there was the unknown piece. And then the third piece was like perimenopause, menopause. It's not just something we're supposed to suffer through. There's actual real long-term health issues that we face because of the declining estrogen that we go through from perimenopause and beyond. And if we take action during this stage, there's a lot of things you can do, but food is one of them and a very important piece of that. It'll have a direct and positive effect on our longevity. So like the take action, soy as an answer, and the fact that I was upset with how little information was out there kind of unlocked my mission for me. And I was like, it's kind of like my personal passion with what I knew was like, I'm going to do something. And I just really wanted to enter the conversation and join these other women that are trying to empower and lift up women in midlife, frankly, all women, to take charge of their health. And that's kind of how it all started. And my way in is food, because that's kind of what I know. So I started with soybeans.
So the soy is bad narrative has come from real concerns about GMOs, hormone disruption,
No, it
and
actually, it was like,
overconsumption, right?
like, because it has isoflavones in them, which is a plant compound that lightly connects to estrogen receptors. It was misunderstood as like extra estrogen in our bodies, which is not the case. And it was tied to increased risk of breast cancer. So people started consuming in the US more and more soy. Of course, in Asia, they've been consuming it for 50 centuries. But in the US, consumption started going up. This false narrative came out that it was tied to breast cancer, and boom, people stopped eating it in the US. But it's really, if you dig in, and frankly, it's been any kind of information around breast cancer linkage to soy consumption has been negated. The benefits of soy are science backed, and we're in this world of like living in vibes. It's not about vibes, it's about science. And soy is science backed, which is one of the reasons that it's so exciting to like talk about and consume and push out, you know?
Well, how educated is your target consumer on the actual mechanism, phytoestrogens binding to estrogen receptors?
They're not.
Or do most of them know soy is good for menopause?
No. And honestly, it's a huge, it's like there's a lot of like my job is very big. It's like
Hmm.
not all, it's still a ton of women don't know the effects that perimenopause could have on their body, or that, a lot of medical professionals don't have a lot of training on it. So they may be being misdiagnosed and they're definitely underserved. Like every day I'm realizing just how few people actually know they need to be taking charge of their health, period. And then on top of that, there's still a lot of misconceptions around soy, mostly, which is unfortunate for me in a business where I'm trying to help women in perimenopause and postmenopause. It's mostly women of my generation. We were fed it. Frankly, the young, no pun intended, the younger generation didn't get those news flashes. They were too
Yeah.
young. So it is a heavy lift. The other piece of it is, and then I'll stop talking about it, is people don't know that edamame is soy. Edamame is just a young soybean. So there's
Yep.
actually some edamame snacks out there, which is great. And they, to me, have an easier way in because people are like, oh, I don't eat soy, but I have edamame at a Japanese restaurant. And it's like, you're eating the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, your brand is a snack. It's not a supplement. What's your strategy for getting the nutritional story across without triggering FDA scrutiny or on a food product that can't carry a disease claim?
I know. The strategy is honestly just to stay soft in your claims, like support, using the word support or has been shown to. And you can never talk about the disease state, like I can't really. You can't say anything really, really strong, particularly on packaging. So I'll test and learn, but like honestly, I have to scale back a little bit of what I'm saying. We consulted an attorney. We talked to people that are FDA specialists, and I had people check my packaging to make sure that our claims are not too strong. And frankly, claims is the wrong word. They're just
Yeah.
statements, and then you have to have a little asterisk as well on the packaging, which we're adding. But the strategy is really to stay relatively soft on these like packaging, which is like harder to kind of pull off shelf, and have third party experts read it because it is very important that we're not misguided or misguiding.
At the risk of belaboring the point, let me ask one more question kind of around this. You're asking women to eat roasted soybeans instead of hot Cheetos for menopause symptom relief. The science supports the soy isoflavones, but the effect size isn't probably really dramatic. What does standing tall promise her realistically, and is that promise compelling enough to actually change snacking behavior? And you're trying to change at least some of those habits with
Yeah.
a good quality product.
Well, I would say, there's two types of consumers. There's consumers that are not keyed in to health and wellness and don't have that inherent like belief and tie to like, okay, you are what you eat. And I have enough work just educating women around the benefits of taking your care of yourself during perimenopause and menopause, and then educating them on the benefits of soy. So the target audience I'm going after, frankly, already believes that if you eat well, you're going to be better off or it'll help your longevity. I'm not like, I don't have the time or the money or the wherewithal to go after an audience that prefers chips and change their mind. I mean, just to like simplify it, change their mind and have them switch from like eating Cheetos to chips. So the woman that I'm targeting already is like looking for healthy solutions, whether it's working out or healthy foods and, and that kind of thing. I mean, frankly, it's more about converting somebody from consuming nuts to
Mm,
chip, but then chips, like one of the things we talk about is that it's like half the fat of almonds, twice the protein, just as delicious, and so to me, that's frankly, an easier sell.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. So the menopausal supplement market is consolidating fast. It's well-capitalized companies with clinical authority and national distribution. Your bootstrap snack brand, how do you compete with the pharma adjacent positioning when women are looking for real solutions?
Yeah, I mean, we're not a supplement, and
Right.
again, it's really I'm not trying to compete with supplements either. And I can't. And I think it's to me, I'm just trying to help women. And it's the bigger issue is more around being bootstrapped and finding the patience to to grow slowly and responsibly so that we can have a clear path to profitability, you know? And so if I'm out there trying to like say I'm competing against supplements and these some of these brands that are like skyrocketing, they have millions and millions of dollars. Same with some of the snack brands, you know? And so
Yeah.
I need to spend my time focusing on like where I want to be disciplined around, you know, unit economics, how I can be grow profitably, not get caught up in a lot of the noise, and where I do want to spend my money, where I want to prioritize my spend, you know, and that's kind of what I'm learning as we go over these last couple of months. Because, I mean, it's all my competition, and I could get caught up and say, like, I could spend, and we've spent nothing like some of these supplements, but like spending money on Amazon sure drives sales, but not generally profitably. You know, you could throw a lot of money at it, but awareness and activity does not mean conversion and profitable sales. So I'm really just hunkered into like, be patient, which I'm not very good at, you know, read the signals, take small steps, have some discipline around unit economics and prioritize where we do want to spend our money, you know, and we're learning, you know, where it makes sense. But like you and I were talking a little bit about like market volatility and like the cost of ingredients and things like that. One of the things we do want to spend our money on is a really high quality bean. And that's something, you know, sourced in North America, mostly Canada, a little bit in the US. That's something we won't compromise. Like I'd rather have very slow sales, but make a soybean that tastes absolutely delicious, that's sourced responsibly, than get a soybean that's much cheaper and repurpose that money in like beating a Grun supplement or whatever else, a different skyrocketing brand.
You mentioned soybeans. So you've your co-man controls the sourcing relationship. You don't deal with the supplier directly. Walk me through what you actually know about where your soybeans come from and what verification exists between your supplier and your finished product.
Yeah, we do. We know. I mean, the other thing is, I actually talked to him about it a little bit before, and we can't disclose like where the farm is and all that kind of stuff. But we do know where it's sourced. We do know the farms where it comes from, mostly, like I said, in Canada. And then we have the paperwork that's the non-GMO paperwork. I mean, gluten-free, you know, things like that between the farmer and then
There's
the
a chain of custody.
Yes, right. So
Nice.
we as a business owner, even though we don't make it ourselves, which is in and of itself has some pros and some cons, and then our co-man has this long-standing relationship with the farmers in Canada, we have the paperwork to support it because at the end of the day, we're the ones that are, you know, responsible and we're the ones marketing and selling it. So I need to feel comfortable that if I say non-GMO, it's non-GMO, or that it's sourced in Canada, that it's sourced in Canada. We couldn't go forward without it.
So you mentioned Amazon. Flexible packaging is your brand presence on an Amazon shelf. And the flex pack market is being hit by supply chain disruption right now. How much of your current packaging is good enough for now versus this is what the brand should look like?
You mean in terms of, like, the risk of buying more? At
Well, the risk of being tied into that flex pack that you're using
um,
versus a can versus
yeah, I know. I mean, honest answer is I'm hoping that we can coast through this and stay in flexible packaging. We luckily, considering, you know, it's only been a couple of months and it's like you and I talked about, hard to forecast and know how quickly you're
yeah.
going to grow and how much you need. We have enough packaging to last for a little while. So while I just got a new quote, it came in yesterday. I haven't even looked at it yet. It's going to be a little bit higher. I'm hoping I don't need to pull that trigger just yet. I have honestly not thought about leaving flexible packaging. And, you know,
Okay.
I should take a step back. When we first launched, we thought about what we should go in. And I was like, ooh, there's something to be said for being in a really cool container or like a can or a jar like nuts or whatever else. And they're cost per hip. Those aren't cheap either. You know, we're
Yeah.
doing something custom, flexible packaging, even though the prices are going up and hopefully they go back down because of hopefully the war will end for personal reasons too, it is could still be cheaper than switching into, you know, some other type of pack. It also is important that it has to be like like clearly resealable, you know, so which adds
Yeah.
cost too. Like I need a resealable pack to keep the soybeans fresh and crunchy and have that nice savory taste that they do. But I have to say that I'm guessing that even with some increased pricing, it's gonna be cheaper for me to order more of what we have, than sourcing something else and frankly paying for all new designs. It'll
Mm,
it's just gonna add up. All those one-time costs are gonna go up too, but one of the reasons we chose flex packaging was it was remarkably cheaper than anything, frankly, cooler or that would stand out against the others because our competitors are in the same similar type packs.
they are. Yeah.
If we need to make some concessions, if anything, it would like I chose a thicker, a couple of layers so that the pack feels a little bit more premium. If anything, we would maybe like thin that out a little bit, if we needed to. But I don't have any plans. Until you asked, I had not considered switching out of flexible pack.
You've deliberately chosen to stay out of retail for your first year. And
Yeah.
for those that may not have known, you just hit the market just a few months ago,
Yeah.
started right up because you didn't see the unit economics working out initially, and you wanted to stay away until your unit margins and forecasts are solid. But Amazon isn't free either. So
No.
what's the actual viable early stage channel for a functional stack brand that needs both trial volume and real margin?
I mean, I think that Amazon is probably still the answer. And I'll say it because of this. Yes, it's very hard to make money on Amazon. Oh my goodness, is it? Especially like, the way to get attention is to buy these keywords. If you think
Yeah.
we can afford the keyword protein, you're crazy. Like I'm making it up, but it's $10 to have somebody click on, something my product. It's like it annihilates any profit you would ever make. So to get
Forgive the pun, but that's nuts.
that's nuts. That's totally nuts. And so, however, you have more control when it's on D2C and it's on Amazon. And you have the ability to test and change course quickly if you stay
Mhm.
flexible, which is also hard. Like that's another lesson I'm learning is like stop being super precious about what I'm looking to do. Like be okay stepping outside the lines and testing different things. But back to Amazon, you have control, you have the ability to test, you have data, like real hard data that you can take a look at pretty quickly, like every single day. You can change things quickly if they're not working, like from an ad, from the way your pages look online and everybody's on the platform.
Yep.
So you're fishing where the fish are. And so even though I sit here and I think, oh my gosh, should I have like targeted Whole Foods first? Or, it opens up a whole different can of worms. You're now dealing also with middlemen and distributors. And once you're on the
Mhm.
shelves, first of all, it takes a while to get the data. You have to spend a ton, even more money to get people to notice you and to pull it off the shelf. You're giving promotions, you're doing, whatever else. And you can't adapt and adjust quickly. And for for me, we've already learned so much about like frankly, the messaging on pack, the little thumbnail images that we're using, what's resonating, what's not. We're making changes sooner than we would have been able to if we would have gone to a Whole Foods. And frankly, if we went to Whole Foods and they took us as is, I'm making it up, and it didn't go well, probably not going to get another chance there. They're gonna be like, "Well, we tried you in 2000 whatever we are, 26. We don't want you again in 2028." So it's a really nice even though it's hard to make money and holy I question it, it's a really good I think it's a really good first play because it does give you the opportunity to get data fast, learn, and change course if you want to, and you don't get that anywhere else.
Your own site gives you first party data and better margins, but
Yes.
you also have to acquire every customer yourself.
Yes.
What's your actual customer acquisition cost on D2C right now?
Well, it was so high that we actually stopped for now on Meta. And this is one of the things we're learning is it's easier to get people on Amazon because they're there and on your
Mhm.
website. And and we're not experts at this, right? So at the end of the day, we're actually now looking to hire somebody to help us with it and figure out like a percent of sales share model for Meta. But Meta, as much as your margins are better, you have to spend a ton of money to get
Yeah.
that person to your site. And it's much harder to oh, I've lost the word. To like very I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but to really target. And so and I have such a clear target that it's like it's Meta to me is almost like putting an ad on a billboard. It's like that's not
Yeah.
targeted at all. Like the whole state is driving past, in New Hampshire, I-93 and seeing it. I'm only looking for a very subset group, and it's very expensive to get them and to convert. And we just the honest answer is we're not good enough at it. So we paused because we were spending a lot of money. And this is like we were okay the first couple months to test a couple things and see what was converting and how. So we paused and we're like, let's just see if we can find a partner that is really good at it and willing to kind of test it and learn it with us. But we are still getting sales. And I'll
Yeah.
say one other thing. Meta is one thing. The website is still a great sales generator through other means. And what we learned is while Meta is extremely expensive because it's very hard to target, some of the other like activities that we've been working on in the first quarter and the second quarter have driven sales to the website, and frankly at a cheaper rate. And that's frankly PR has done really great, some local PR, and then some other like some podcasts. Influencer outreach has been really, really great for Amazon and for our website. We'll give a promo code, and that's generated a lot of sales on our website. And events. So trying to go to events where women are, and if I can't attend, sending samples and driving trial that way has generated sales. So the website, while Meta acquisition cost is way too high, some of like the old school methods have helped us drive sales to the website. It's just not digital. It's just not as digital, which is fine with me.
Yeah, well, lower cost, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned influencers, without naming names. How are you reaching out to these influencers? Are they, I'm assuming they're women. Are they women that you have seen on YouTube or other outlets yourself, or were they referred to you?
No, it's all just like research. I mean, a lot some are research because they're women that are focused on midlife. Some I've just kind of known over the years because they've been tapped into health and wellness. So I've potentially worked with them in the past. So some of them it's been that way. But I would say most of it is like finding somebody and then seeing who they follow and seeing who they follow and you'll start seeing this group of women who all are out there doing what I'm doing, which is like empowering women to take charge, whether it's food, whether it's exercise, whether it's some sort of medical, like HRT, whatever it is. And it's cold outreach. It's just sending every single woman that I encounter a DM, like a message on Instagram, and introducing myself, talking a little bit about what I love about what they're doing, and asking if they want samples. And you'll find that, not everybody responds, but those that do, and they get samples from me or other brands too, but I'm just talking about myself, but get standing tall samples, they tend to share it. And then when they share it, obviously that's awareness and credibility, all in one. So they're generating awareness for the brand, but by the people that are following them obviously trust their opinion. So it's this credible third party, which is kind of priceless. And then, following up again after that relationship is starting to build and say like, okay, if you're going to events, and this has also been helpful, if you're attending events, if you're running events, I'd love to send you some samples for anybody coming to your event to try. And you just kind of build on those relationships. And at the end of the day, we're all like trying to do good, And so once you start connecting with these other, women, I mean, they're influencers, yes, but they're all just women, out there, trying to do good in the name of other women. It's a group that's more likely to engage and share and include.
Yes. So you previously have said to me that you want to track ROI on awareness and repeat purchase rates, but the data is effectively guesses right now. How are you setting KPIs when you have 5, 6 months of sales history and the sample size isn't statistically meaningful yet?
Yeah, it's very hard to set KPIs.
Hmm.
Frankly, even from a marketing perspective, even in long-standing businesses, it's very hard to measure which marketing activities work. The only real KPI we have is like what activities are actually converting into profitable sales. That's the only thing we can focus on. And so, at first we were thinking about like upper funnel stuff, like, how many followers we have on Instagram or, trying to do a lot on LinkedIn or whatever it is, Meta conversions. And we set some of those KPIs that were just like, like, okay, what's our meta conversion KPI going to be based on industry standards? I mean, anybody can kind of Google that stuff, but we weren't hitting them. And so it's really just to us, it's like, what keywords on Amazon are converting at a profitable rate, what outreach like levers that we're pulling are actually converting at a profitable rate, and we're just leaning into those things more. That's why we're not doing meta to drive to the website, but we're going after PR, we're going after influencers, we're going after events. That's why we've scaled back on Amazon keywords, because although some of them are converting, it's not at a profitable rate. And so, and that goes back to, because profitability is our ultimate KPI, it goes back to what I think I was saying a little while ago, which is like being a little bit more patient with growth. Like, when you dream this up, we're like, oh my gosh, it could blow up in January. One person's going to hear about it and they're going to think it's delicious. And then the next thing you know, we're going to have a million I'm exaggerating, but you start realizing how very hard it is to drive awareness and then conversion, and how very expensive it is. And you just like, you need to have discipline and patience. Again, I'm actually pretty disciplined. I'm not very patient. So, but at the crux of the question is like, it's profitable sales is the only KPI we can really focus on. And we do have some early indicators, but that doesn't mean we're not going to keep trying new things. Like, I don't want to just like continue to, just because these couple of things have worked means that's all we'll ever do.
Kind of going back to customer acquisition or slash retention, and also around the ROI, repeat purchases is really a real metric to tell you if your product is working, if it's resonating. What's your current repeat rate, and what does it need to be for you to believe you have a real viable lasting business?
Yeah, you know what? I actually don't know it by heart. I could look it up if I need to. I have it written down because we were just talking about this right now, but without knowing the number by heart.
Yeah,
Our repeat rate is lower than the standard or what we want it, but not when you consider how long we've been on the market and how long it
sure.
takes to consume, because we're not selling 1-packs, we're selling 3-packs. And it isn't something that people are used to incorporating into their everyday. So while people are repeat buying, and we do have another metric that we're looking at, is like subscriptions. So we do have subscriptions both on our website and on Amazon, which means people want to keep buying and have it auto sent to them on a monthly or every 6 weeks, 8 weeks, you can sign up how you want. We do want to increase the repeat rate. It's a little too soon, because truly we just launched in January. Sales didn't even pick up until, call it February, March, so to
Yeah.
repeat a 3-pack is going to be a minute. But what I take from that is like, how can I share content that shows consumers and that have already bought or that are looking to buy, how to incorporate it into your daily life and why, and that's everything from, swap out your nuts to soy nuts or soybeans, to put it in recipes, to, by the way, you could have it in breakfast if you put it on yogurt, and so I think to drive that number up, that's something I'm specifically thinking about when it comes to content generation. Like, what am I sharing that inspires consumers to eat it more? Like, take it on a hike, whatever, throw it in your car, like it's
Mhm.
only 5 ounces. You can take it on the go. It's not like
Yeah.
this like chip bag, but so I can't remember the number. I could look it up, but
It's
we want
not
to, we
important.
want to bring it up, but it is a little too soon.
You have, as we mentioned, you have 20 years of CPG instinct and 5 months of data. Most founders overweight instinct in year one and pay for it in year two. What's the thing that your gut is telling you to do right now that the numbers may not actually support? And should you do it anyway?
Yeah. What the numbers are telling us to do is to broaden the target.
Mm.
It's so hard to, like I keep saying, to generate awareness as it is. And while there's a lot of benefits to being like very passionate about a very specific person, it's very hard to reach that person at an affordable rate, back to my KPIs. And so while my passion is like pushing me to be like, don't change anything, the numbers and frankly experience are telling me to like expand your point of view a little bit when it comes to the packaging itself, or maybe some of the ads, to be a little bit more inclusive. Like, I'm making it up because I'm not this targeted, but it doesn't have to be a 45-year-old woman living in New Hampshire. It can,
Right.
I'm here to help all women. It could be a 30-year-old woman or an 80, like, broaden your reach a little bit, and broaden your message a little bit to be more inclusive and at the end of the day, I'm still serving my passion and helping others by expanding my market and hopefully, driving more sales. I was just thinking of something else I was going to say when it comes to passion and market size, but shoot, I can't remember. Maybe I'll think about it. I'll think of it in a minute. But
Well, as a man that
yeah,
enjoys nuts, I eat 10 almonds a day and a Brazil nut and sometimes pistachios. It seems like
yeah.
you should maybe market to men like myself that enjoy a good handful of nuts a day.
Well, that's the thing is that it's almost like we've done too good a job of being niche and we should
Uh-huh.
maybe broaden out a little. And even things like, what I said at the very beginning, like people don't even know if they're in perimenopause or in menopause.
Yeah.
And so by using these words, you're already like, even people that are in it be like, oh, that's not for me. And
Mhm.
another friend had good feedback that was like, I didn't want to give it to friends because they would assume I think they're old. Right. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And at the end of the day, soybeans are good for everybody. Now, what I think helps us stand apart is ours. The product itself is the most delicious and also sourced more safely, right? But I do want to make sure we don't lose sight of like I'm in this and what we stand for. And I
Right.
think there's a way to balance those two things. Like the
I
reason
agree.
I did this is always going to be the reason I did this. But that doesn't mean that you can't eat the soybeans or, like, when we first launched it, friends would call and say, like, "Can my kid is liking this. Can I pack it in?" I'm like, "Oh my god, yes. Like, it's safe for
Sure.
everybody, please." So, that's kind of the clash between, like, my passion and the data.
So is there something that we may not have touched on that you'd like our audience to know, be it from the marketing perspective, the manufacturing perspective, or just maybe what you've learned that you didn't expect to learn?
Yeah, I would say 2 things to answer the second part, that what I learned that I didn't expect to learn. One is I didn't expect to learn so much. Like,
Mm,
I have been doing this for so long. I mean, so organic and natural food for 20, but I've been like, I was trained traditional CPG, at a big CPG company in New Jersey. You would think I know a lot more than I do, but I've never started my own business. So, and that's actually been really fun because at
yeah,
50 and having done, this for so long, being able to get out of my, comfort zone daily is I like that kind of stuff. So, one thing is just how much there is to learn and learn every single day. And I think that really goes to say for anybody that starts their own business, no matter how much experience you have, it's never quite the same. The other thing that is kind of, I don't know why, but surprised me slash I learned is like just, I mean, I guess I knew this, but it really underscores it is like just how incredible a community and a network can be. When we launched, and it's kind of reignited something in me. I want to make sure I'm always kind of like spreading positivity too. Because when we launched, like friends that we hadn't spoken to in 20 years are like, this is awesome. Personal notes, buying product, getting more for their friends. And the support we received from people we know was like outlandish.
that's wonderful.
And it makes me rethink like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna make sure I'm doing this for other people." So it's a nice full circle. And then there's the community of people we didn't know. And, like I said, of course, there's plenty of people that don't respond, but man, have I met some incredible women, that I would have never met through this cold calls and random outreach. Like, some of the people that respond and the way they respond and the way they wanna support is really great, because at the end of the day, no matter what your passion is, in this case, it's a bunch of, women and hopefully men too that are trying to bring more light on this issue and empower women. You're better off if you're doing it with other people. Like, I don't
Oh,
want to do
absolutely.
it alone. I don't want to do anything alone. You learn so much more, and I think I've been like yearning for more people like that in my life, and so the community piece has been a really nice like bonus.
That's great. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Tessa, it's been a real pleasure. I want to thank you for your time today and for being on Hard Signal. Tell people exactly where to find you. It's also down in the notes, but where to find your product.
Yeah, go to standingtallfoods.com and you will see all three of our flavors. It's 5 ounces of salt in 3 packs. So sea salt, which has been the most popular, salt and pepper, and chili lime.
Chili lime. All
Yeah.
right. All right. Thank you so much, Atessa. I hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up.
Thank you. You too.